aggressive. Yeah.
What's the saying that you like to say about, looking into the soul of a redfish?
Oh, when the one's eating a gurgler, you can just see them when they're coming up 10 feet away from the boat. Goodness. You can look down their soul.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Skiff Wanderer podcast. We're up here in North Florida. I got my buddy Alex Blackwell with me. You guys have definitely seen him on the podcast. I think, Alex, you're the first recurring guest.
I happen to just be with you quite a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'm just around you.
Alex fixes all my camera mistakes.
I'm also your tech guy and also your fishing buddy. It's a win-win.
It's a win-win for both
He's kind of mine on the same level.
And then our special guest today is Trey Mikell.
Yes, sir. Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have a clapping
sound
effect? Yes.
That's it.
There we go.
I was trying to
We also are joined by about 50 to 100 people here in Trey's workshop, which, just in case you're listening to this and you're not watching it, which you should be watching it, because we're in I think it's one of the coolest little workshops I've seen. He's got his fly rods on the wall. He's got all his tools. He's got all his fly tying stuff. He's ready to go in here. There's even a little mini fridge in the corner full of ice cold.
You gotta have the mini fridge.
Refreshing Coors Light.
I screwed up. I did not even grab a beer. What is my problem?
Oh, right. Well, we're off to a great start today.
Typical Alex.
Not drinking his beer.
So this is kind of part of Alex. Alex had invited me over to Florida, and originally we were supposed to come hang out with Trey, and we saw the weather. Alex called Trey, and Trey was like, "Don't even."
No, man. There wasn't no use, and
No.
once that front kind of run through, and it came through. It was the coldest it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
Luckily this morning it was glass.
Oh man,
But,
this morning.
The fish were cold, as to be expected.
Yeah.
But we were gonna be fishing with you when it was blowing 17, 20?
Yeah. So I mean, days like that are doable, but I didn't want to have you guys, especially with Pete traveling all the way.
No,
So we went down south for a little bit, and then we were getting ready. We were packing up. We hit Trey up. He's like, we actually weren't supposed to fish till tomorrow.
That's right.
And then we all looked at the weather, and we all came to the same conclusion of, no, show up.
Yeah.
Saturday night, we got to fish Sunday. And then actually, we were going to do this podcast this morning, and we all woke up and we said, no, we can wait. We can do it in the dark.
Yeah.
We can podcast in the dark.
Yeah, for sure.
So we were driving up here, and this is, I've visited different parts of Florida. I've grown up basically kind of as Florida as a playground. I actually, some quick Capel family history. If I had been born in Florida, I would have been a 6th generation Floridian.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Dad. And never made it to this part. And my first thought driving in, as we were coming in, I was just like, this is the Florida that, like, growing up hearing stories about, a family that's grown up in Florida, this is what you envision, and it's just spectacular. You grew up here, right?
Yeah, I grew up about 20 minutes up the road, a little town called Wilson. Got 3 red lights.
We hit all.
It's small, so it's the second biggest town in my county.
Yeah.
So pretty close to the coast. Grew up bass fishing my entire life. My family had river house on what the locals call Blue Run in the next town down called Dunellen, which is a big spring run, and it's later known as Rainbow River, Rainbow Springs, since the tourist stuff's picked up in the last 40, 50 years. But anyway, grew up down there sight fishing before we even knew that we were sight fishing.
Yeah.
We sight fished every fish that we saw, never sunglasses, never anything. Didn't do a whole lot of saltwater fishing until I was 13, 14 years old. We started going out, and it was still the staple fishing around here as far as saltwater is cut mullet, shrimp on the bottom, or popping corks or stuff like that. And I just remember me and a friend were watching a Blair Wiggins TV show, and he caught redfish on top water, and we went to Walmart and bought every skitterwalk we had. And we came out, and the first day we couldn't get very far. I remember we had I don't know how to describe the boat, but it's like an aluminum Ginu pretty much. And we had a 4-horse Yamaha. It would push it 7 miles an hour. And it would take 2 hours to get to the mouth. And then when we get to the mouth of the river, we couldn't go very far. So we started finding places that were closer to the salt, a little bit north of here, and where we could get straight to fishing. And actually, the beer fridge right here won in the first tournament that we ever got in. It was the first place prize.
In that boat?
Yeah, in that boat, yeah, with the 4-horse Yamaha.
That's awesome.
But, it's been easy to develop because there hasn't been a whole lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And that's the key. I go a lot of places now to get away from the traffic. It's on its way.
Oh, yeah.
Like everywhere else. But I'm pretty confident this is some of the last of it. Not that I've seen it all.
Yeah.
The whole state. But from what I hear, I mean, the world of social media tells on itself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, shoot. I got connected with you, Trey, via a good friend of mine, Kieran Hoffman. And, he was saying to me, I've got this guy, he's in northern Florida and he's on some really, really good red fishing. He says it's stupid. And I'm thinking to myself, I've been to Louisiana. I've been to Texas. It's probably all right. It's probably not great, but shoot, let's go give it a try. And, immediately, I think I just fell in love with this place.
Yeah, and you guys came like the day after a tropical storm.
Yeah, it was so flooded.
It was so high. I think both the docks were underwater.
Yeah,
when we put in.
It was unreal.
That was low water.
Yeah, and we were flood tide fishing in
the woods.
Yeah, in the woods. It shouldn't be like that. So I mean, I got a chance to kind of see it, but not really see it. And I've been consistently coming back. And as soon as Pete was like, "Hey, I'd love to come over to Florida and see you," you became the first person I was like, okay, we got to go see him. We got to go see Trey.
So it worked out that you guys landed when it happened, because if we'd have stuck with our original days,
it would have been interesting.
Different story.
It would have been interesting.
It would have been just like Pete was back on that Antarctic ship.
I mean,
Alex has already seen the Sabine underwater once. He doesn't need to see it again.
Yeah, no, but that's, one of the benefits I think that you have, Pete, and then also myself, and then sometimes you, Trey, it's flexibility with fishing. Fishing is one of those sports where you need a lot of variables to go your way.
Oh, yeah. Especially traveling.
Yeah, and traveling for Pete, coming 1,600 miles across, the Gulf Coast to come to a state that's known for good fishing, but in a weather period and time frame that is not super ideal. So, we've made the most of it.
Oh, definitely.
And, that trip down south was good, not great. But I do want to say something. Pete did catch a couple of firsts down south.
Oh yeah, we managed to put first tarpon, first snook, and the first jack, and they were all fish.
The quest for the 12-inch fish.
Yeah,
so real.
If you guys haven't, you guys should definitely check out that full episode of Alex and I bebopping around down there. But
we had to send it up here. We had to go see Trey, and so far, so good.
Oh my goodness, dude! Yeah, this area, like, I think we were talking a little bit. I mean, it's literally like Texas meets South Florida meets low country of South Carolina with the fish from Louisiana.
They're pretty forgiving.
Yeah,
I will say
that was something we fished a little bit today. That was something that I noticed. I was like, oh, that fish is. Oh, he's still there. Oh, that's the fourth time that he's been hit in the head. All right, now he's gonna eat the fly.
I mean, they can act really, really good some days, and some days you got to wait them out. But you keep fishing, you'll see them act stupid.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you've learned about this fishery over the course of however long you've been sight casting these fish? What was the one thing that like stuck out to you where you were like, this makes sense, and more so, I can dial fish in to some degree with just this little bit of knowledge?
Wind direction, and that's a good question, but wind direction to me, on a fly fishing aspect especially, but just sight fishing in general, whether it be spin or fly, your percentage of catching the fish or getting the shots goes up if you can see better. Mm-hmm. Some anglers are better than others, and I got some really great guys that can see and push dead end debris sometimes, and look for them, and they get it done. But on average, you don't get those guys all the time. So you got to set up the best scenario possible to make it all work. So lee side banks, then you add another variable of tide into it. And then you add the light, what the light's doing. if you fish a mangrove shoreline, you can get away with a little less light because you got backdrop coming off. If you're in a marsh scenario and the sun goes away, then you're relying on surface movement or just perfect angles, and lots of variables. I mean, my head is just spinning when I hit the mouth of the river every morning. I don't know which way to go, That's the fun of it to me. That's what I like about it. I like that it changes every day. I like changing with it and changing with the seasons and chasing them.
And watching.
I like being consistent with it.
Yeah.
I like catching them almost every time we go. If we didn't catch them, I'd try not to let it be my fault.
Trey definitely takes not catching fish to heart on his shoulders pretty hard.
I don't like getting skunked with them.
I've been skunked with Trey a couple times, and guess what? It was my fault. I can guarantee you that.
Well, I mean, we could put that either way.
We can put that either way, but regardless, the zone, it brings you back more and more and more. And I think, Pete, you got an experience today that, I think you deserve to go ahead and talk about a little bit.
Oh yeah, so we got let's see, we were rolling around. We tried a few spots, didn't see what we wanted to see. Fish weren't really there, which we knew going into today was going to be tough. We just had a cold front come through. We woke up this morning, it was 25 degrees, and we were all like, no, we're just going to keep sleeping. And then we got up like an hour later than we were going to, and it was already in the 40s.
Yeah, it warmed up pretty quick. It never did get warm. I'm not going to say that much for it, but it did warm up drastically from 25 degrees.
No, but we rolled out a little sooner than we had planned because we saw the weather was turning in our favor. Tried a couple spots and just weren't seeing what we needed to see, and finally rolled up. And man, I'll be honest, I didn't see that first fish until like you were like, he's on the back, and I'm looking, and I'm thinking like the back, like the far side, and not like where he was. I'm like, I don't see what he's talking about, and then finally like keyed in on where he was at, which is something I actually want your opinion on this. So like a lot of times when I'm fishing with a guy, and I got the guy in the back who spots the fish, I'll start getting a cast out. And I've worked with enough guys or fished with enough guys that once I see them starting to get that cast out, I can direct that cast in, which you kind of did to me.
So,
and I don't know if that's something you like or.
All right. So, in my opinion, you only get so many false casts before shot blows. Right, I don't care where you're at. If you're in Louisiana, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're only going to get so many false casts, and that timer's beeping. It's getting tighter, and it's going to go off. So, with that being said, if I can get you to point your rod and find him with your eyes, and then you see him, and then you take the least amount of false casts to shoot that line, the percentage is drastically higher. Because if you're sitting there just false casting, man, he's going to see something eventually. Something's going to go wrong, or you're going to change in your cast, and you're going to create bad habits like that. I mean, I like to hang on to it until we got shot.
So you got shot.
Dialing the rod in when we first get there, that's a different deal. But
once we start,
once it's a real deal, I like to hang on to it, and I like to. I mean, it's always best for the guy up front to see the fish.
Yeah.
There's definitely times where I'm like, just lay it on the end of that stick, stick, because I know that it's about to be over, and then we catch them like that. I talk them through it, but better to see them.
Yeah,
it's a better experience all around.
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure. Once you see them.
Yeah.
And when I did see that fish, my goodness, was that thing
just lit up.
It was like, how did you not see that? I mean, I'm sitting there like, how did you not see that?
I tell people a lot, they look like, sometimes in the water to me, they look like a Barney purple color. Yeah. Like when they're going away, and you just pick it up out of your peripheral after a while. I break my neck sometimes just seeing one. That one there was glowing pretty good there, dude.
You know what I have noticed especially from this trip, and having been able to luckily redfish in a few different spots around the Southeast, is you get like I fish Texas a lot, and you get used to seeing those redfish in Texas. And one thing I've learned is what you're used to seeing in an area is not what you're gonna see. So, like how I will pick out a fish in Texas it helps. But they still look a little bit different everywhere you go.
Yeah, that's true. These on average, and I tell people this and they think I'm crazy, but guys who fish a bunch redfish, I see them when they're not eating, they'll be a real light pink color, almost a gray look.
Yeah,
and they'll have their fins all tucked in, and they'll look almost sick. And you'll spook them. You won't see them in time.
Yeah,
or if you do see them, they'll just spook at your cast. And when the tide gets right, or whatever the light switch flips that makes them turn into that zone where they're eating, they light up fire truck red and they kick those side fins out. That's how I see them a lot is their side fin. The whole body of the fish changes. It's almost like if you caught one really bright red and put it in your live well and rode around with it all day and look at it, it'll turn that pink color to stress, you know. So when you see that, like, that kind of distinguishes to me whether they're on or not.
Yeah,
that's
a good little tip right there.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're seeing them pink, if you're seeing them like that and they're not biting, that's okay. You're not on them right there. But if you'll just wait, you know, or come back in a little while, like you trial and error spot, they're a fish that does the same thing pretty much on like a basis of they do what they do in the spring, they do what they do in the winter, you know, like on and on. So if they're on one spot, they go there again. Yeah. You know, it may be a time where they're on there more than others, and that's when you add all the rest of the variables in of the tide and the lee bank, and you know.
That's something that we were even joking about on the boat. I looked at Trey at one point and said, "You got some fish stocked around here, don't you?" Because it is. I mean, if I took you in Texas, I could show you some places where I know there's going to be redfish. I know that you've got fish here that you know this is where they're going to be because that's where they like to hang out.
Yeah, and we were headed to a place today where they should have been stocked up, but
we got
airboaters, man.
Oh man,
airboaters. If there's one thing I've learned about Trey in my time fishing with him, he has a love for airboaters. False. No, he absolutely hates them with a burning passion.
Oh my goodness.
I don't. Let me go ahead and clarify that. I don't hate airboaters. I don't hate airboats. I grew up in one that was one in my yard my entire life. I just, on what I do now and kind of the borderline ignorance of the people who have airboats, and when they see me on a shoreline and I'm
Poling.
75 feet off the bank poling with a guy with a fly rod on the front standing on the platform, and it's wide open all the way to Cancun, Mexico behind me across the Gulf, and then they split me in the bank. I mean, I just sometimes don't understand the logic in that because I do everything I can to not see people. You know?
I saw you turn red today with that airboater that ran by us.
So the story today
that was like 20 feet away.
Yeah.
So the story today was like we were coming up a creek. We ran into an airboater. We slowed down. We realized that they were picking up and getting ready to move. We didn't. It's not like they were in the middle. They had lines out. We ran them over. We realized they were moving.
We waved. They waved.
Yep. So we came on past them. We keep working up this creek, and we turn around and they fired up and came right past us and cut us off and just went right back to where we were going.
They put a wake on us.
Yeah,
a pretty good wake.
They almost sent a roller over this.
I was grabbing cameras and ready for it.
And that kind of stuff is stuff that happens, and it gives all those guys a bad name. And I know a lot of guys who have airboats that when they see me, they go way around me and they do whatever they can to do to make it right. As far as how the fish act, I've watched them tailing 50, 75 fish at a time, tailing on a flat, scattered out, not on one ball, but scattered out. And when an airboat's 500 yards running away at a big negative tide, they don't spook, but they just squat down.
Shut down.
They just squat down. And then you got to give it 10 minutes and they get back right. With that being said, I got videos that argue the same point because you can hear airboats in the background running and then there's a fish smashing a gurgler, but there's definitely days that are more fired up and they don't give a shit no more.
Yeah.
But I think that's the case with airboats is they don't help my situation on the sight fishing.
All right, so we got a little bit of a tangent right there. I saw this fish and man, I fully expected when he started moving. So what I'm used to is you see a fish start moving, he realizes the boat's kind of there and that's it. He's gone. That's the end of the day. And he just kept just slow moving and you were like, hit him, got it in front of him, slowly moved it in front of him. And did either one of you guys see him even open his mouth?
I never did.
I didn't get a chance.
And we had that fly that was sinking down pretty good. So I think he just, he just sipped it and you got tight. But
yeah, I
saw some other ones today though that were a little different
more
case.
Aggressive,
What's the saying that you like to say about looking into the soul of a redfish?
Oh, when the one's eating a gurgler, you can just see them when they're coming up 10 feet away from the boat. You can look down their soul, when they open up.
Yeah, so we were just like Alex promised. Beautiful. What was that? 28 inch? Is that what you guys figured?
Yeah, about 28.
28 inch, healthy looking redfish. Man, that was and
I told you they got longer.
Yeah,
when you get hands on them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you said on those oysters he looked big, and then he was like, "Oh, maybe it's not that big." But yeah, as soon as we pulled him, as soon as I saw that paddle tail come out,
Yep.
I saw this. I was like, oh my goodness, that's a big fish.
Yep.
And then, put him in the boat, which, Alex, you weren't lying, man. That was exactly what you said we were going to run into.
Yeah, redfish. This is the spot. This is, and I think that in my experience in Florida, this is probably one of the best red fisheries right now.
It's also, with that being said, one of the hardest to fish because it takes a mind to go in there and destroy the bottom of a boat. And we're in Pete Sabine today, and that's not the end of the world, bump stuff in that. But I just destroy both the bottom of both my skiffs, daily. And you have to do that to get to these fish in the right scenario. I mean, the whole bottom out there is limestone. There's places that are soft, definitely that you could have easier days. That don't mean the fish are always on them. So, but there are fish that are a structure fish primarily, that and the snook. If they're not on oysters, they're on rock. Sometimes they're on both, and vice versa, back and forth. What I ran across a lot in years, because I've been guiding now for almost 8 years. In the beginning, I used to run by a lot of mud, never fished mud. And now I fish a lot of mud. And I'm not going to go into what makes mud good and what doesn't. But anyway, ran by a lot of water, miles of coastline that I fish now that everybody else still runs right by. The fish are just stupid on them because they don't see nobody, and they're very consistent.
When I say that, this is one of the better red fisheries, I would say in the state, if not the Gulf Coast, I don't mean a DIY red fishery.
No. And you see how many miles, I mean, even me, I love to go hunt them. I love that they're not every time right there where they're supposed to be, so we covered a lot of ground today. We saw a lot, but we covered a lot of ground. And it was like I said, they were going to be in places. It's like they are where they are. And that's it. They're not everywhere, but they are where they are.
I could see Pete and I coming on down here by ourselves, trying to figure out this red fishery and coming back with the same mentality as when we came out.
If we didn't sink the boat.
Yeah, if we didn't sink the boat. But we'd come out of it with probably the same thought processes when we went down to the south of Florida. We would go ahead and be like, that was so tough. That was incredibly tough. And probably be really disappointed. But because of your experience, because of your knowledge, and honestly, you're one of the only people that does it the way that you do.
Yeah.
Your presence on the boat absolutely it gives us the opportunity to actually get on fish. And I don't think a lot of people do it.
And I say this all the time to people on the boat. Nobody on this boat wants you to catch the fish more than I want you to catch the fish.
That is a fact.
Like, for a fact. I mean, it doesn't even do me all that great to be up front. Like, I mean, I know I can do it, but I want to watch you do it. Anybody that comes fishing me, I'd just rather stay on the back. I'm like, catch another one, get one bigger, Of course, I did take you guys up on trade-off today, which that paid off.
Yeah, it absolutely paid off. You're a sniper on the freaking bow.
Expert guiding.
Expert guiding from Peter.
Pete pulled like 10 minutes.
Hey, that was it. That's all it takes for me to. You put me on the back, I'm gonna get you on a fish.
It was almost kind of like I waited until it got good. Almost.
Yeah, you're like, oh, look at all these fish. Let me get on in there and cast in there.
How long have you been guiding down here?
I got my license when I was 22, and I'm 29. I'll be 30 this year.
Yeah.
So I did it full time from about 6 months in. Now, when I say that, I didn't run as many trips as it takes me now to make a living. Right now, I'm fishing, as far as paid money trips, I'm fishing around like right between 180 to 200 a year, depending on that. But I got one of the highest rates around, and I only take one person at a time. Two on like exceptions, Yes. I don't even want to. No, we didn't. No, I know one person. One person. We're taking that away.
Yep.
But
I've done the 2-person trips, and it's
doable. It's doable. It's doable, but it needs to be 2 like-minded guys. There doesn't need to be an angler in the boat that's better than the other. There needs to be 2 that are pretty good guys, because what it always ends up being is there being the guy who wants his buddy to get one more, and then we end up wasting away all the good shots. And as a guide in today's world, I get a lot of my bookings off social media. It's a free tool to me. Yep. So if I don't have anything to post, no content, and we've done blue 25 shots because you're trying to learn how to cast, that kind of sucks on my end. You know what I mean? That's why I want to catch them. You know, like
it hurts.
Yeah,
it definitely hurts.
It burns. It burns worse than losing one. Honestly.
When you started out, did you start out fly fishing?
No. But I did start out solely artificial. Yeah. I bet I've ran maybe 5 or 6 total trips ever that we used bait, and that was in the first year. And it was with like some kids that I had taken and stuff like that. But in the beginning, never any fly fishing. Although I started about my second year getting some friends who fly fish that are pretty good, and you know, you get good around good people.
Yeah,
pretty quick.
For sure.
And it got to where the sight fishing evolved because I was just starting to find them better, you know, like, but did a lot of fishing with spoons in the beginning because I didn't have the clientele that I have now. So it was spoons here. I mean, I know that sounds pretty simple, but you can just throw them and reel them, and if you're on the shoreline, you're going to catch them.
Yeah.
And then we moved up and we started, you know, throwing topwater plugs with certain clients, and the topwater fishing, I remember being on, I don't even know what cell phone it was, but you're talking about this far back, you know, it wasn't very good quality when you uploaded it to Facebook. But nobody here had ever hardly seen that. I'm not saying I'm the first to ever do it here by any means, but nobody had ever seen that on a guiding aspect, you know, solely artificials, you know, and catching them that way. Well, then the sight fishing became all I wanted to do because I just loved seeing them. Yeah, you know, I just loved seeing them and feeding them and beating them at their own game. And then, and I still say this to people too, but you know, with a bait caster or spinner rod, I feel like fish is in front of me and I'm on the bow, he's at a disadvantage. I've just caught so many now at this point that I just know how to feed them. But with a fly, Murphy's Law goes hand in hand with fly fishing more than it does anything else. And I just love that it's hard. And I fished with some great fly fishermen. One of them told me that about the time that you think you're good fly fishing, you ain't shit.
Yeah,
you know, and that's just the best way that I know to put it to anybody. I still have days you get out there and you're like just like a rubber hook, 7 or 8 in a row, you know, and then you have days where you never lose any, or you land every shot perfect. It'll humble you, but it's an art, and it just feels so beautiful is the only word I can put for it when everything goes together right, you know, between the double haul and the cast and everything, and watching it from the back is even more satisfying. My homework coming into play and pulling through in the end is the best.
Yeah, no, I definitely like when I take guys down around Texas. It's, you know, I have no problem staying on the back all day because it's definitely, you know, you're driving to the boat ramp. You're well, for you're tripping to the boat ramp. You're formulating a
BB gun
range. You're formulating this game plan, and then you get on the water, and the first thing that goes through your mind is, all right, I have a game plan. Now I can see what the conditions are because, you know, the weatherman likes to be wrong.
He's wrong so much.
And then you get out there, you see the conditions, you make whatever changes you need to do, and then you make those adjustments. You get to the spot, and then you just see.
You just see, and once you fish an area enough, and you've been there for the good days, and you've been there for the bad days enough times, you know when you got to go. You know, and sometimes you know that you got to stay because it's the only place that the wind's letting you fish that day. So you stay there and you grind it out in the hopes for, you know, I like to put it, there's days that you go for quantity and quality, and there's days you go for quality. One good one, because you only can fish a certain section of shoreline. It's not that you couldn't go somewhere else. Crossing the bad water down here is bad. Bad. Danger. In a little skiff. Like, it's pretty bad enough. There's nowhere to hide. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, we are, like, we're blessed. Like, we can, like, if it gets bad, I can normally hide somewhere on the way home. But, like, that run, you're wide open. You're basically, the next stop from where we were running is Texas, pretty much. If you were to turn, if we taking a left turn, the next stop's Texas.
Yeah, dude. I mean, pretty much straight across. Yeah.
So you're getting the full blow of the Gulf of Mexico coming at you, and as soon as it kicks
kind
up.
Of the way that my house sits right here on the river. The way the river mouth sits, more or less, it sits in like a corner of a 90. Yeah. You know, so you get the water pushing out from the river on top of an already outgoing tide, and then you get west wind on top of it, so it really builds up some big rollers out there. Not that it's bad for every boat, but small skiff, what I take, it's serious. Yeah. And then you go the next day and it's just as glass slick and you can't tell the horizon from the surface, you know.
Yeah.
How was this morning?
That was beautiful this morning.
Yeah, that was the Lake O Mexico.
Yeah.
We could have made it to Texas.
Yeah,
this morning.
Possibly. We ran out of gas.
We would have run out of gas
very quickly.
No, so so we'll get a little bit back into the day, how the day went today. So we got that first fish in the boat, and we kept Alex got up on the bow and immediately started saying how he's going to make quick work of it so Trey could get up there.
I tried.
How'd it go?
I tried my damnedest. All right. You know what? As much as I like to profess that I'm pretty damn good at fly fishing, I'm really not. I sit behind a desk and I edit a lot of videos and I answer a lot of emails and work on spreadsheets now, more so than I ever have before. So when I do get out here, I try and at least bring a little confidence. But man, I was, there were opportunities where I could have made that fish eat. I think that there were a few fish that they could have eaten. There were a couple other ones, though. And Trey, you can probably attest to this. They were kind of acting like assholes.
Oh, they were absolutely assholes. One you casted at 15 times.
Yeah.
Like I said, those fish just know you're there. Just because they haven't spooked, they just know you're there. And they're not going to do it because they don't know what you are. You know, they haven't been run over before or anything, but they just don't really know what's going on, but they know. You know, and it was cold as hell this morning, so they probably didn't want to do much, hauling ass anyway.
No,
but yeah,
it was a good opportunity on a couple of fish, but it took a while. We ran into the airboater. We were coming back into some creeks and had some really, really tight shots. I'm talking about fish in 3 feet of water that's a little bit murky, and you can only see them 6 feet away from the boat.
You can just see a little glimpse of color or a little bit of a tail. You're not coming out of the surface tail, but just a glimpse of a tail sometimes. Like you had a couple that, and it's like I told you before, a foot off is a mile off. When you're in dark water, and these fish, with it being so cold, they're not going to exert a whole lot of energy.
No.
They're not going to. You have to make it their idea, but you can't. Have it 3 feet out in front of them when they're laid up. They have to be either traveling if you're going to lead them by that much, or you have to put it in a shoe. Yeah. It has to be in that 6-inch to 12-inch range. And you cross them like that, and if they don't spook on the shot when you land it across them, 9 times out of 10 they're going to eat your fly. What happens after that's up to whoever's up front.
Yes, that is a fact. But after seeing a couple and making some shots, we came into this kind of dual cove system off of a creek. There were 2 little coves. The first one, Trey, you saw a fish that was
giant. It was giant.
It was a giant.
it was.
I didn't see that fish.
I saw his fin.
Yeah. I immediately saw the smaller fish and started trying to work that.
Yeah.
And you were like, dude, no, go after the huge one. Like, go catch the big one for me, all right?
Yeah, the one that was cross of like 20 inches. The other one was 20 inches longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, he wasn't a 40-incher, but it was a 30 plus. Those ones we were looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And so I kind of got in that mindset of, I just kind of like had a brain fart,
you could tell.
You hadn't caught one yet at the point, so it was just to get one caught.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, choosing one over the other kind of, brought some dilemmas, and they kind of, moved their way on out. And it was like, there was another opportunity gone. But as we worked around towards that next little pocket, lo and behold, there's one sitting there. And you're like, dude, left, right there, look. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's a redfish.
Yep.
Finally made that cast. And he ate it. And he charged it.
If I remember right, when you landed there, he spooked at first, and then he ran back to where he spooked from, ate the fly, and you couldn't get tight because you were about to pick up for a cast. So he already ate one time. That's one eat, and then he's going away another 15 feet. You laid another shot out that he ate twice on, and then you finally hooked him on the third one.
Yeah, so pretty much. He was like, honestly, that was like a little Chihuahua redfish. He just wanted it.
He wanted it. Yeah.
And one of those situations where I'm looking down in the water, it's pretty darn clear, and I watched his soul. As that fly entered on into it.
I'm really hoping the GoPro shows that soul shot.
Oh, it's good. It's good. It's not A++. It's a GoPro shot. Let's be honest. But
right on.
But it's definitely showing some soul from that redfish. But yeah, what would you call that, Trey? Probably like 23, 24.
Yeah, I think he was 24.
Yeah, good fish.
It's just like that's average. I'm not saying that they're always all big, but I try to go after the big ones. We saw the ones we were looking for today. Got one of them caught. I think the one I got, I call him a big one too.
Yeah.
The one that got off. First one?
No, not that one. Not that one. The second one.
That one was huge. What are you talking about? That was all at 45.
That one getting off is my saving grace.
But yeah, no, I got my little fish, and honestly, Pete and I went ahead and said, Trey, you're up on the bow. Like, now. Come on. And you're like, all right, fine, I guess.
Because, I mean, like, and honestly, like, I was always hoping to. It's the same thing like you were just talking about earlier. Like you enjoy being on the back watching somebody else. I'm the same way. I was like, man, I'm not gonna sit here and make this guy pull me around all day. He better get up there and catch one because, you know, I enjoy like especially like guides, like watching guides catch because you know like I know you guys are out here. What did you say? Almost 200 days a year.
Yeah, I mean,
so
and I don't mean to get off subject on that, but that's how many days I'm guiding. But I write a little star down on my calendar every day that I fish.
Yeah,
you know whether or not. Definitely fishing, pushing 300. You know, that's just how many trips I ran was closer to 200. But I fished the rest of them.
Yeah,
you have to be consistent.
Yep. Yeah, because you take a week off and
you have. I took a week off unwillingly this past week. You know, I got to run one on Monday, and then it's been blowing 25 plus every day since. So what can you do? You know.
But yeah, we were. You know, I came into this like Trey's fishing just as much as the rest of us. Just getting up there, and you got up there. And then you outfished both of us.
Hey, you said as much as the rest of us.
That's just how it landed.
I don't know if I'm fishing 300 days a year.
That's just how it landed, man. That's just how it landed.
You are an absolute sniper. And I think that you don't give yourself enough credit for like being really dialed because you have eagle eyes.
I don't think that I've done it long enough to give myself any credit for it. I've gotten this far being humble. I like to put a number on anything. I put conservative. I just like to be humble about everything. I mean, anybody who talks good about themselves, they never hardly ever back it up. You know, I mean, you think about it.
Yep.
But I like to think that I can put a fly where I want to. I feel confident when I'm up on the bow, but at the same time, I don't get a much chance to get up there. So when I do, I guess I do all right.
You make the most.
I don't get any practice, you know. So I mean, I haven't got up there. Today was first time in a month, maybe.
Yeah.
And man,
I haven't even casted a fly rod. You know, I've watched a lot.
You've watched a lot of.
I've watched a lot of casting, but
man, you're throwing dimes, you're throwing lasers. You know, as much as you're on the back, right? I can personally say like I respect you as an angler because you fish those fish super well.
Oh yeah.
You have to fish them with a sense of urgency. Sometimes you get a good look at one from a long ways and you get a chance to set up, but you guys have seen like it has to be right now. You know, there can't be like, oh my God, there's one in front of the boat. No, like right now, you know, go, you know, put a shot down. I'd rather someone spook a fish by trying than the boat spook them.
Yeah.
Because if the boat spooks them, then we just wasted it away. You know, it's gone. I mean, you can learn from every mistake, but you can't learn by, I've never seen a redfish get in the boat while fishing that wasn't, you know, hooked. I've never seen one jump in the boat. I've seen them in a cast net, but I've never seen them just one get in the boat. So tries are free, casts are free.
Make it happen.
Try, learn from it. You know.
Yeah.
What did you see with those fish? Because immediately I'm like, how is he seeing these fish and like on them? Because were you seeing his fish before you started casting at him?
No.
All right. So when you look at something over and over and over again throughout the day, you know, days and days and days in a row, you know, and you want to see them. Well, first off, I got LASIK eye surgery.
Yeah, so, you did. Yeah, you got LASIK.
I got some like better shit than you could be born with.
Like, I need to see redfish.
But anyway, I was seeing them pretty damn good before that. But
sure.
Yeah. But it's like with anything. It's like the first time that I went tarpon fishing in Homosassa with a friend of mine who guides down there. Man, I was surprised because I think that I see fish pretty well. I was surprised at how I couldn't see them, you know, even when I was on the platform and he was on the front, you know, and how I couldn't see them ahead of him. And then when you finally start seeing some after a couple of days, you know, they become obvious to you, but they look different than what my eye was trained for.
Yeah.
Like I said, I pick them up in my peripheral, like just boom, just catch one, you know, just
moving.
They do the same things over and over again, how their mannerisms are when they're feeding, whether they're tailing or whether they're subsurface tipping down or whether they're crawling. And they do all those things in different scenarios and sometimes in all the same scenario. But you pick up color. I mean, there's just a bunch of different ways to look for them, you know, and it's color's the biggest thing I look for. Stingrays, when stingrays are that kind of dark like orange, color like that, that's the color of the redfish. So if I tell my clients, I said, train your eye for that stingray, because eventually one of those stingrays will turn into a long one, and it'll be one, because they're the same color. And stingrays are a great sign for redfish.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I'm on a flat or something like that, especially not so much in a creek scenario or in the marsh, but if I'm on a flat open water, stingrays just show the right color. And they just give away a good place for fish. I mean, they're in there doing the same thing.
Yeah. Pete, what do you say?
Find the rays, find the reds.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's not always 100%, but it is most of the time. And certain times of the year here, we get those real big rays, the ones that are 2 feet across minimum.
Yeah.
I've seen up to 5 or 6 fish on them at one time, all oversized, being on one ray. A lot of times it's just one fish, but I'll have clients not even look for the fish anymore. Just
look for rays.
I mean, we're looking for fish, I'm saying, but whenever we see a ray, don't look for the fish on the ray. Just hit the ray.
He's sitting right there.
They blend in. They're the same exact color to such just perfect that you can't see them. And sometimes they're under the ray itself. And you'll see his tail about where his stinger's at. You'll see his tail on there, and you'd be surprised at how big the fish will be that'll be under a ray. I've seen 1 or 2 big trout on them. Kind of weird. That's not something I would say that happens often. But you look at enough rays, you'll see some.
So I think what I was really getting at is, in that moment, right? What were you seeing, and like how did you fish those 2 fish? Because you did lose one, or
I
you
did
let
lose
one go.
I did. I wanted to let that one go.
Yeah, you did.
That one there. I actually
did you get the leader?
No, I didn't even get a chance to touch it.
I thought you grabbed the leader.
No. Literally, I went to go grab it and he was gone. I'm like,
yeah, he just popped off.
Yeah,
that was a good one to lose.
Yeah, he was a rat.
No, so like that one right there, and Pete saw it. I put like 3 shots over and over again that far in the money, right in front of him. I mean, moved the fish with the fly. Like he just darted around it. And like we were saying earlier in the day about getting that reaction, just like, the fish already seen it. He knows we're there or whatever. But nature takes over sometimes, when they're feeding, and that fly just bounces in front of his face, and he can't take it, So I literally was just picking up, make another cast, and it came in front of his face as I was picking up. That's why it looked like I was trout setting, but I was picking up to lay another shot down, like you did on the other one that we casted at 15 times.
Yeah.
And the other 2 in there, man, you look at them on the bottom crawling, like I see silhouettes. Crawling on the bottom.
What I started
I can't see them as good as I could the one that was lit up bright. But you look for silhouettes because they do different things. You have to be not just in tune for them tailing, not just in tune for them on the bank. Got to be in tune for everything. Looking everywhere.
That was definitely for me. Like when we started later in the day, where like that was a different environment than I'm used to seeing them.
Yeah.
Like early on, like all right, I know how to spot one in this environment. We moved into those back marshy areas. And that's, you said you saw this, you were watching for silhouettes. That's what I started looking for too, was just, all right, that looks like an oyster. All right, that oyster's moving.
Well, we were kind of at that time of the afternoon too, that it was kind of getting that weird light. Mm-hmm. It's just hard light except for one angle. Yeah. So it's almost better. Yeah, you can tilt your head all day, I guess. But it's just almost better to, at that time of afternoon, to be in conditions that are either slick where you can see surface movement or be where you have absolute total cloud cover. That way you have total backdrop, but that afternoon light's different. It's just hard to fish sometimes. Way easier to fish blind fishing with spin. Hard light, because we know where they're going to be. If you throw a topwater plug into a cove that's only wide, as the boat, if one's in there, he's going to eat it.
Find it.
He's going to eat it. But that's second best to seeing them to me.
No, and then so we had that first one, which we almost landed, and then as soon as he spooked, we just started seeing them everywhere.
Yeah, that one little cove was full of them.
Just full of them.
And that's like I was telling you guys. I mean, you can go for a long way and not see them, and then when you finally, you're having to kind of learn as you go each day. You're learning what they're doing that day. You figure out what the trend is. That's just what the words I put on it. Whatever they're trending doing that day. Yeah. Like sometimes they're on rock, sometimes they're on mud, sometimes they're on oyster. When you figure out what they're doing and it's not coincidence anymore, then I got all kind of other things spinning in my head where I know the areas are that have solely this, or have more of this than the other. Yeah. And that's the stuff right there that puts consistency to a different level,
Yeah. Being able to, exactly.
Because if you go fish the same area all the time, that area will I promise you it'll go to shit before sooner or later. Not because of you overfishing it, but because the fish leave. They're not always doing the same things, Seasons change.
Yep.
Every front changes them. You get huge tides in the middle of the night that suck all the water out, and then they go offshore, and then they come up in a different spot. A bunch of them hole up. The big ones don't hole up. That's not true. So,
yeah.
Because if so, the airboats would be catching more than 24 inches. So.
No, so you were able to find a second one.
Yeah, I was able to get a second one.
Can you talk about it?
Like my favorite shot, 11 o'clock, 15 feet. That's what I like.
Drop it.
I like it close. I like to drop it and tick, get tight,
Yeah.
It was a good one. A lot better. Like I said before, it's, the time of year where they don't look as big in the water till you get to fighting them. Like, they grow. In the summertime, it's the exact opposite. Fish look pretty big.
Yeah.
I think it's a water thing, like a temperature. I think that the water's a lot thinner during the cold. So they just look different through the water. And then during the summer, it's thicker. So they look bigger, but they're smaller.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense.
Just like a thicker glass on a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence after you look at a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Another thing that people don't always pick up is I'll say that I heard one. It's not that I heard one blow up. I heard one spook. You'll feel them boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. You hear the drum.
Under the boat. And I can feel it in my platform. And I'll tell somebody, I said, one just spooked. And you'd be looking around, and then all of a sudden there's the mud. And they're like, how the hell did you hear that? And I'm like,
I didn't hear it. I felt it.
I'm like, well, I mean, I did hear it and feel it, but you can hear it boom, 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 boom. And that's the same thing as like a deer blowing.
Yeah.
It's letting everything else know in there.
And that is definitely 100% time on the water to start picking that up. Because that's something when I first started getting after it hard, I'd fish with guys and they do the same thing. They'd be like, oh, one just blew out. I heard him drumming. And eventually, you just get to a point where it's you'll be coming across the flat and just hearing doom, 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 doom. And you're you just start looking.
Yep. And even when a big snook spooks, you feel it. I don't think they drum, but it's just such a surge of energy.
Yeah.
When a fish over 35 inches just boom, they just leave out. And it kind of gives the same feeling throughout the boat, But the whole drumming thing, you catch a big redfish over 35 inches, they'll drum in the boat,
Yeah.
The small ones, not so much. I don't notice it, not so much.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, like I said, time on the water. I think it's one of those cool things, especially as you do it, as you spend the time, you get more in tune with that environment where you start picking up on the little tiny details of, drumming fish or, they're here today. This is where else I need to go. And that's one of the things that I especially, as much as I love traveling and as much as I would want to keep traveling, I love fishing my home waters because you get so tuned into an area that it's all right, they're here today. These are the other spots that are the exact same. We can go fish them here,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And it's fun getting good at it.
It's so fun.
It's fun when it all comes together.
Definitely.
And it's fun knowing that other people aren't catching them and you are. It's also true. It's also fun for that too. A lot of times the summer fishing here is pretty tough.
Yeah.
It can be.
Just hot water.
I got some stuff up my sleeve, that places we go where the water's cooler for reasons that I'll keep to myself. But anyway, stuff like that is stuff I've learned. It's not stuff that you just go find. Not stuff you find on satellite. It's not stuff like that. I mean, that's polling.
No, it's so Alex actually came out to visit me for the first time last April, and we took him out, and it was we'd had a hard freeze that winter, and cold front. So me and a little bit of an inexperience, we fished the area like I would in the summer. Mm-hmm. And how many fish did we see?
We probably saw at least a dozen fish.
Yeah,
but
which is slow.
It was slow.
Yeah.
In Texas, at least from what I've found, a good day you'll see 100 to 200 fish.
Yeah, and that was
and you'll catch 10.
And the experience now, I've told Alex, if you came back in April, we would never go to any of those spots because I already know that's not where they're going to be.
And yet, you know what's funny, Trey? We went to one of those spots.
That was in September.
That was in September. Yeah. Guess what? There was no fish there.
I definitely have spots. that cross seasons together, but you fish those spots differently. total. You fish them on different tides in the summer, and then you fish them on different tides in the winter. Once again, sometimes the seasons make the water dark, so that changes the variable once again. So much shoreline to go down, and so much of it has fish, so much of it doesn't. It's like, it's not just as easy as dropping the boat in and getting on the bank and going poling. Yeah. It's just not that easy. And the spots where they're at, you got to grind to get to them.
Well, that's fly fishing in general,
Yeah.
It is the grind. What you are doing is handicapping yourself to the farthest capability.
Yeah, dude, it is. What else could you do besides try to like cast at them with no rod? Like how Flip does, with his hand. That'd be the ultimate. To catch one like that.
That would be sweet. I've seen that.
I saw the one video that like plays on repeat on Instagram.
Yeah, of course.
It. Yeah. Anyway, and in that video, the line touches the grass in the back, so that shit wouldn't hold up on the water anymore.
Yeah, it would not. Hey, you should try that. You should try that sometime.
I have never tried it. I've wanted to try it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Start hand throwing fly.
I don't know that, dude. I don't know that I'm good enough to do anything like that. Never tried anything like that. Man, honestly, my whole fly cast and everything, I fished with some good casters that refined me down in the light beating part, and some people got it, some people don't. I think that there's three kinds of people out there with fly fishing: some that got it, some that don't, and then there's some who can be taught and some who can't. Yeah. There's absolutely some who just do not have any business with it in their hand.
You know what's funny? So my father, he can't double haul, and it drives him crazy.
So he's limited to
trout fishing,
30 feet.
Yeah, he's limited to 30 feet. That's about it. And so, I told Pete this on one of my last podcasts with him, was I got taught how to double haul while I was on a trip down to Belize. And I picked it up immediately. And I've seen others not be able to pick it up. And it's like, but it's this easy, you're just moving your hands to the motion of the ocean, all this other stuff.
I've came up with little things to try to get people to do it. How I learned, honestly, and it was kind of a slow process, but it wasn't all that slow. Orvis videos on YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's how I self-taught myself, and I would set up my tailgate, my phone, and I'd record myself casting, and then and everybody who can cast legit right now, double haul cast, when you feel it the first 2 or 3 times, when everything loads up, and it's like riding a bike. You can refine it and get better and better, but you can ride that bike from then on.
Fly fishing is all about feeling.
Yeah, so once you feel it and you get that timing right, that's when it becomes the beauty of it. And it feels like it just turned for me in a week's time, where I was just had a different confidence about it. No, all the rest of the shit that goes with it is the hard part. Coming from conventional fishing with spin or bait caster, where you have to lift the rod to set the hook on every fish, that's a whole big learning curve for anybody coming into fly fishing. In saltwater, I get that you do the trout set thing anywhere, but I'm not even gonna say 9 times out of 10. I'm gonna say 10 times out of 10 on anything less than a 9 weight. You trout set these fish, you will not hook them.
Facts.
I say with a 10 weight or up, if that's what you're doing, if you get tight, that's a big bone rod. You're going to stick some meat in something, But I just watch it too many times. I don't know, I don't totally wrap my head around why it doesn't. I guess a fly rod's not made to set like that.
It is not. I've seen high sticking of fly rods.
The fly rod guy.
Yeah.
How does it not work?
It is a fragile tube made out of fiberglass. Have you looked at the thing?
But it's also pretty crazy how quick you can beat a big fish on a fly rod.
Yeah.
I don't understand all the technicalities of it. And once again, that's my inexperience with the whole fly, but I do love it, and I do love to get tight with them, and it's a great thing understanding it and it all coming together.
I like a big stick that bends. That's the end of it.
Here's the way I describe it to people. It's the tool that shoots the line. It's not the tool that sets the hook. It's the tool that shoots the line.
Yeah.
And then you get to play on a fun tool.
So with any other kind of fishing, it's the tool that sets the hook and the tool that shoots the line. Yeah. So you add, but when you start taking things away, then you start adding the line on the bottom of the boat and everything else that it catches. Murphy's Law, once again, dude. If it can go wrong, it will. You can't cast it into wind good if you're not good. It's just you're battling. Your forward shot at 11 o'clock, that'd be your shot. It turns from 50 feet to all of a sudden you can't cast to 25 feet if you're looking into a breeze, So then I got to get you closer. Just tougher. With a spinning rod, you can reach out there and just touch them, you know. But as soon as you hook them, you're like, why didn't I get the fly rod?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's how I am about it every time. But
No, I mean, when I really started, like the first couple of times I took a spinning rod with me, and you know, finally it was just like, no, I need to dedicate myself. I need to put all my focus into it, because it is, you know, you go out there, you got a fly rod in the boat, and you finally catch a fish with a spinning rod, and it's like, dang, that was a chance I could have had with a fly rod.
yep, you got to just leave it at home. I mean,
yeah,
if that's what you want to do, you got to just leave the spin rod at home.
Yeah,
you know?
Definitely.
And just go at it like that. That's the only way. I tell everybody, you can practice in your yard all you want to. I used to take a kiddie pool, fill it full of water to try to recreate, you know, just wet line's way different than dry line, obviously.
1,000,000%.
So you can be a badass in your yard, you know, everybody is, you know, until it comes time to cast at a fish. The good way to get the nerves right and get everything right is repetition, shots on the real deal. That's how you get right. You know?
Yeah.
Let one eat it and you trout set 4 or 5 times in a day. That burns. You go home with that burn. You don't forget about it. The next time you go, you're thinking about it the whole time, you know. And that's pretty much, you know, how it has to be. You have to want to fly fish.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You just don't go catch one on fly. Like,
No. I mean, I'll get guys that'll be like, you know, how do I get into fly fishing? I want to start fly fishing. And, you know, half the time, the first thing I'll tell them is, you know, once you get your rod, once you get your line, once you get your reel, once you get your setup, you got to practice. And you got to practice every single day. And normally that's about the point where they go, well, maybe this isn't for me. And it's like,
yep. And I think that, like, you know, once you cross that bridge finally in your head where you've wrapped it around, you know, it's one of those things that I firmly believe that I could drop it for a year and pick it back up. You know, I think that you got to be living in that world still. You know, you can't totally separate, you know, just go away from fishing and come back into it. I mean, you're going to have to pick it back up, but watching casters and watching their movements, and it's just in my head nonstop, you know what I mean? So that's why I just feel like I can get back up there and do it the same way.
The funny thing is about fly casting, right? In the moment of just, I'm just going to cast the rod, you'll throw lasers, you'll throw dimes, you'll put out perfect casts, they'll lay out stunningly.
Little spot on the bank, just touch it right in there. Yeah.
Oh, it's brilliant. You know, you're like, oh, if there was a fish there, I would have caught him.
oh my goodness.
As soon as you put a target, a moving target, an alive target
in a moving boat,
it becomes like knee shaking.
And
it doesn't matter who you are.
And then you add the wind. And then you add the cloud come in front of the sun.
Right when you see him. Right when you're making that last cast and you look back and he's gone.
Yeah. And that's the stuff that, like, it bothers me way worse than it bothers the guy up front. Like, and I try not to let that reflect on the whole attitude of the boat, because the boat has its own attitude. If that makes any sense. You know.
Yeah.
If it's shitty out, the boat knows it's shitty out. You know, if that makes any sense to you guys. Like,
we understand.
You know, there's just a different vibe, you know, on the boat, and it takes one good shot, or even a messed up shot, but seeing a good fish changes. You know, the whole deal changes. Confidence is so much of it. Like, it's like we were talking about with the rods. You know, with the line up on the bones. You know, putting them together. I mean, you can get it pretty straight looking down it, but knowing you got it straight, that gave you the confidence to shoot. I mean, or if you mess up a shot, my rod was twisted.
Oh no, yeah. I mean,
it's the small things.
The small things do matter, though.
All the little small things in fly fishing add up to be the big picture. You know?
Yeah. No, it definitely is 100% when it comes into fly fishing. The little things, the small details, they add up. They can make and break. And then definitely also, like, the whole attitude. It's something, you know, it's definitely something that, like, I've seen fishing with guides that I don't have. I'm willing to admit I don't have, and that guides, really good guides like yourself have, is that ability to, like, shake it off, keep the morale on the boat good, keep everyone positive, you know, all right, don't worry about it, we're going to find another one.
Yep.
And it's something that, like I said, I don't have, but you definitely got it.
Trey's really good at it.
Yeah, you so I got a client, he's kind of more family now than anything, still a client of mine, his name's Scott, but he's been very, very influential on me, on and off the water. But he has qualified for the Bassmaster Classic when he was in his 20s twice. I mean, he's in his 60s now. He's just a badass. You know, he's a badass on the boat. He doesn't do any fly fishing, but he's a badass with any rod that's in his hand. He just has always pushed me. Like, we've had so many 20 fish days. It's stupid. You know, we've had some most epic red fishing days together. At one point, we were fishing together close to 65 days a year. Now we're back down to around 40 because he's back bass fishing again. But anyway, we've always stuck with the standpoint. He said, you just got to keep fishing, got to keep fishing. So he knew about my whole deal about the social media thing, about how we had to have, you know, something that, you know, and I really hate that it's that way. It's a sad world to think that it's come to that way as far as business standpoint, but it's either do it or get left behind in a way. And he knew that I needed just one big fish every day. You know, if we got 20, that's fine. If we got one going, I needed one picture. So he always said, just keep fishing. Just got to keep fishing, keep fishing. And I don't know how many times at the very end of the day, we would catch a 35 incher. Just the one that we've been looking for a month, you know. Yeah. Just kept fishing. And then we go home. We've had 25 fish days by noon. You know,
holy cow.
Multiple times. What? I mean, you edited some of the videos. You saw him like in that clear pond when he flips that bait caster to that fish. Like, you know, he's a bad cat. He's just taught me a lot about how to feed fish, you know, slower and try different things. He's had a lot of experience, you know, doing what I do and doing all kinds of other fishing that are relative, you know. But the keep fishing part is the biggest thing I learned from Scott, because, you know, I don't know how many days other than him I've kept that mentality. Like today, for instance, you know, there's a lot of days that, you know, this afternoon, everybody would have went home. It's been over with. Like, the tide's starting to fall, the wind's blowing out of the west. But, dude, Pete's here from Texas. You're here from Tallahassee. Like, I know that if we just go a little bit longer, we got some daylight, we're going to get a shot. And then we all got one.
Yeah, we all got one. Yeah. And so if someone wants to find you on social media, how they find you?
Just look up Trey Mikell.
Yeah. How do you spell it?
TreyMikell.
Okay. There you guys go. Go find him. Hit him up. Follow him. Come fishing with him.
You will have to go ahead and, you know, ask for a request as just a heads up, because Trey likes to keep things on the DL.
Yeah, I do. I don't take just anybody. So I have to put a little screening process out.
No, that's smart. That's smart. You know,
I mean, I'm already pretty good judge of character as it is. So I screen. I kind of do my own screening process now, but been burned a little bit.
Yeah, and you'll have that. Yeah, sure. And that happens, unfortunately, with social too these days, right?
It's easy.
One of the things I wanted to have you ask him, but I'm going to go and take the reins here, is because you are private, right, on social. How do you feel about spot burning? And in terms of spot burning, how do you take a picture of your client's fish in a zone? Do you adjust yourself to make sure that you get a shot?
I've never blurred anything out. Thank God I've never been in a situation where I had to be one of them guys. I'm not putting a stereotype on those guys by any means. I'm just saying, you know, blessed to be able to be in a place where, come find me if you want to. Good damn luck. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not gonna find me. And yeah, when I'm on obvious spots that are on the open, you know, having to fish outside, you know, and these spots, I keep it to the middle of the week. You know, I don't even go on the weekends. I don't even like seeing people on the water watching me fish from 500 yards away. I'll just leave and go somewhere else. I don't like it. So yeah, it's not so much about a spot. I'm on the move the whole time. But if I'm on an open flat and there's something behind me that may distinguish, you know, something, I just face towards open Gulf, you know, and just show that. But when I'm in a marsh situation, good luck.
You're gonna find it,
you know. Or if I'm in straight mangroves, like, you know, the tree from me to you, good luck, you know.
Yeah. What are you seeing? Just mangrove leaves and a fish?
I mean,
like, you can't tell anything.
Do you know how many mangroves or, you know?
Well, in the state of Florida?
Yeah.
If someone was ever to find that spot, he already knows it's a spot.
But you still have to be there at the right time, right place.
And then there's that.
And then there's everything else, you know. And every day is different in the salt.
Yep.
So you don't mind, or you're not concerned about like spot burning or anything like that?
I'm not concerned so much about spot burning as much as I'm concerned about other things on an environmental standpoint, like killing the fish. You know, that's the biggest thing to me. I maybe kill 5 redfish a year, and it's because I ate them.
You had to feed yourself.
Or we had 1 or 2 that ate a plug too deep, or whatever, you know, it's going to happen. But I just, and maybe I'm spoiled with it, you know, and I can get one when I want to, you know, whatever. Yeah. But, you know, you got a lot of the guys in these coastal towns around here that they're just beating the shit out of these fish. You know, you got them running doubles in the summer. And back when the redfish limit was 2 per person here for that little short stretch, man, it put a hurting on them. Like, that was right when I was starting to get going, and we were catching 20 a day on topwater, missing 30, you know. And then it went to where, you know, you got these guys running doubles. They're taking 4 or 5 people at a time. The captain's catch rule hasn't came into play yet. So they can keep for at least 1 trip, okay. You know. Now I think it's none. You know, you can't keep captain's catch anymore. Some species, I could be wrong on that. But so you got, you know, 4 or 5 guides that are taking doubles out every day. Man, that's a bunch of damn redfish coming out, you know. And I get that it's a big pond, but it's not that big of a damn pond. You know, they only live in one area.
They're seeing that in Louisiana right now.
Well, look at those guys out there. They're shooting them with bows, and they're gigging them, and they're, you know, and they're running those big ass pokey boats offshore. And they're just, last time I went to Chandelier Islands, we were running back to Hopedale. We ran across 3-mile stretch of solid bull redfish floating on their bellies dead. 3 solid miles and pokey boats offshore. Like,
just throwing them back in.
Oh, yeah, because when they get them, they're just a bycatch. And they're thrown back in. So that's all breeding redfish. Those breeding redfish are the same redfish that go out offshore, to, you know, here. It's all relevant when you're offshore in the Gulf. It's the same ones that populate this area and all that, you know. And we don't know enough about any of those fish to really say. It's all speculation. Man has a really good way of getting an answer for today, you know, without knowing anything. There's no such thing as we don't know, you know. But I think that killing the fish in general, there's a fine line there. I don't want to go against anybody's business, you know, because there is a place for that.
Yeah.
But I don't think the inshore, I think there should be regulations like seasons on redfish.
Yeah.
Same as snook. When they're the most vulnerable, you know, and the big ones are up here, let them be. Or tighten the slot up. You know, one of the two. Make the slot tougher.
You know, one of the things that a buddy of mine, Capt Ty Hibbs, says about Louisiana too is that, you know, those speckled trout over there, they get massacred every single day. You got charter captains going out, popping corks, you know, shrimp, live bait, and just bringing back just big old stringers. And I mean, you see the same thing in Texas.
Oh my goodness.
And it's disheartening because from an inshore fishery standpoint and from a sight fishing standpoint, a trout, redfish, snook, tarpon, what have you, they're all phenomenal sports fish.
Yeah.
And like, I think there's so much more enjoyment, and I'm just speaking for myself here, there's so much more enjoyment being able to sight fish a fish, touch it for a quick second, letting her go, and watching her kick off strong as hell, than just taking it home. I will take a few, but
have you guys heard of the mayor of Tampa Bay?
I have seen that on drum spots.
Yep. Have you seen that, Alex?
No, I haven't.
So the mayor of Tampa Bay is this one particular redfish in Tampa Bay.
It's a big one too, isn't it?
It's a nice redfish.
Yeah, he's like pushing 35 or something.
And he's been caught, I think, about 13 times. And they drum spots put out a post.
Really unique spots on them. They give them away.
That's how they knew it. Yeah, they made t-shirts and everything.
That's awesome.
But they put out a post about this redfish, and it's one redfish, and they broke down the economic value of this single redfish, and they said that this single redfish has probably brought somewhere between, I think the low end was $4,000 and the high end was $50,000 into that area between, you know, hotel, travel, restaurants, guide fees, fuel, ice, beverages. That's one fish that just 13 times they caught him, they let him go. And it's just hard to argue
he's
that
still swimming.
He's still he better be.
Yeah, man.
Hey guys, to the mayor, the mayor of Tampa. Love that.
Well, I caught the mayor of Waukesasa Bay the other day. So
you catch a lot of mayors, honestly.
yeah, this one was a big one. The guy that went the other day. I mean, we turned around. We went all the way in the back of a creek. It was probably 15 feet wide. Just come to a straight dead end. Turned around. We made a 180 and we turned around. There was a big floater. He's about 3 feet of water with his top fin, tail fin out of the water. Just everywhere I'd stuck my push pole, he was checking out every little mud puff, every way. And we had already messed up, I don't know, 4 or 5, probably, at least. Graham, I'm going to call that 4 or 5, but that was probably like 9. But anyway, laid a shot down, like split his eyes almost, and we did see the soul in that one. Like, he laid a shot down and he was in a little bit of mud, and we started taking the fly. Man, he just ran it down and ate it like me to you, Alex, like just right in front of the boat. Just got tight, 37-incher, and the backcountry, that's a monster. It may as well be 40 in my eyes.
Yeah.
We didn't put the fish on no scale, but we both held enough big ones. He was 25 plus pounds.
Wow.
Wow. Big.
That's a
You saw
huge fish.
you saw the one you had today. I mean, that one you got today was 28. Probably weighed 8.5, 9.
Dude, he was healthy.
Yeah, they're
He
fat.
was good to go.
I gotta show they ate sometime during that big blow yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitting on the bottom, just
Sitting
waiting,
on the bottom, chilling.
waiting for something to come by the face.
Yep.
So, Pete, one of the questions that you asked me was, at least in our little podcast, where would I want to go and fish?
Oh, right.
So,
Trey.
I want to go
Anywhere in the world.
I don't know the country name. I'm sure I can be corrected on this, but I want to go catch those giant golden dorado, and I want to go catch some big peacocks, or one of those big ass arapaima. One of the 3.
Bolivia and Brazil are going to
Yeah.
be the places.
I don't want to go I want to go to the back. That's what I do. I go to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to go
Go way
I
up
want
the
to go
river.
where I want to go, even if they got to lie to me and tell me nobody's ever been there. That's what I want to go. So, I get that it's fishing. Everything's hard on there, but man, it's got to be some stuff that's similar on a different scale to what I'm at, because I'm around fish and never seen people.
Are you going to bring your own saw?
No, dude, I'm gonna let the tribals.
You're gonna let them bring the saw.
Yeah, I'll do that. But you have seen me saw my way into some places.
Yes, you love getting really skinny and also into the backs of just places that I didn't think we could go, but you were like, yeah, we can keep going.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're gonna have to get some cold feet and shove this bean across some stuff, but we won't have to saw none.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because we already took care of it.
Yeah, I already took care of that. Yeah, I've already sawed it out. I've already sawed the way. I got like 2 or 3 ponds right now that I got to go back with a chainsaw to get to the rest of it because the tree's too big. Like I was pushing the limits that one day. I was impressed with the little saw though.
Yeah, no, that thing handled itself real well.
Yeah, I was impressed. I wouldn't like try to do too much more than that, but
Yeah.
it got the job done that day.
You did some clearing for nature because you need nature needs to let that water flow through that zone, not have trees just sitting on top of it.
That's right.
That was hurricane damage.
Exactly.
I still think the best thing to do is make it look natural, but put a gate in,
Yeah, that's what they do in Louisiana.
Really?
so no one knows.
Yeah, they just gate it off.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't get on in here.
That's what when we were over there, somebody was telling us like, oh, you can't fish some of these creeks because they're private.
No,
owned.
there'll be
What are you talking
there'll be
about?
actual gates across. So that's one thing we don't have in Florida. You can't own the water or lease the water like that. The only places that you can do that in is like St. Augustine, the state. You can't get into the fort. You can't go into that water. That's like state water, whatever. But other than that, if it's navigable by boat, you can navigate it, kayak, whatever.
Yeah.
You can go in anybody's place as long as you put in somewhere. So Louisiana, different story. Be a straight up gate, a lock, maybe a man with a shotgun. You never know. And
That's Texas.
and it's all big duck leases. So that's where the fish are.
Of course.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every time I go out there, years past, it was always good. If we saw a duck blind, it was good. I mean, because it's slack water.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it just kind of, holds those fish. It's structure, slack water. They can feed around it.
It just makes a pond where the grass can grow.
Okay, interesting.
And that's what the ducks are feeding on primarily a lot too, is that floating green grass. And I'm not sure of all the terms. I'm not a big duck hunting guy. But I do know that here they do the same thing in my freshwater stuff that I fish.
Cool.
The bright green stuff, I blow hundreds of ducks up. I don't want to tell these duck guys that, but they're back there. So,
all right. I think, we're going on about an hour. We're going to wrap it up. Trey, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for dinner. Looking forward to tomorrow. The way the weather's shaping out, I think we're going to have one heck of a day on the water. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah. And one more time, tell people where to find you.
Pretty much Instagram. That's all I operate on. Just look up Trey Mikell. TreyMikell.
There you go. Look him up. And if you're not already following Alex, then I don't even want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
So, and one last thing, if you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, one of those, leave a review. It really helps me out so we can keep doing these podcasts, rough vlogs, everything that you guys are enjoying. Really appreciate all of the support. One more time, Trey, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Alex, you ain't lying about coming here, man. I'm pumped.
Let's get on the water tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm glad you made it down.
No, I am too.
Or over, I should say.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to come to Texas.
I'm going to get out there, man. I got a lot of places I need to be, but